So what your take on it is, because look, Roe goes out there, all this happens, and then so now, and he mentioned about being a potential presidential candidate, right? So now the world's going to collapse in on him, and we all know it. The Republicans are going to attack him, Democrats are going to attack him. It's going to be, they're going to dig and dig and dig and try to find something wrong with him. They're going to emphasize, you're going to see nonstop negative coverage of Khanna going from this day, and if he runs for president, all the way to the end of the campaign, right? So we all know that. We all know there won't be any positive pieces in media about Khanna going forward. They'll all be negative. So what's your theory on why our media here in America, is just, in my opinion, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong about this, is totally on Israel's side. Like they're like, no, we can't see the AIPAC money. No, it doesn't affect the politicians. No, I'll never report that 94% of Congress gets money from the Israeli lobby. No, Israel's right about everything. So what's going on here? Why in mass is legacy media clearly 100% biased in favor of Israel?
Well, I mean, at least from my perspective, I think that, so there's been several issues or several waves, let's just say just over the last few years, where I thought the entire corporate media was in lockstep over different issues. I thought funding the war in Ukraine, COVID lockdowns, COVID vaccine, mask mandates, and all the COVID policies. Before that, there was, outside of the Fox News, Murdoch world, there was a real anti-Trump bias, Russiagate. There was real lockstep about that within the media. And right now, they're that way about Israel, or I should say, and throughout that entire time, they were always that way about Israel too. And I think that you're absolutely right, of course, to highlight the money in politics as a huge part of this. I would also just mention that, and I don't say this, people could view this as I'm just speculating or being a conspiracy theorist, but I actually don't think that's what I'm doing here, because I'm not alleging anything. What I'm saying is that, if you see 5 cockroaches on top of the carpet, you can pretty well be sure there's a whole lot more underneath the carpet. Like, with all the money in politics that we know about, how many illegal bribes do we just not know about? I mean, it is not that hard for people to get, into the business of concealing, moving some money around here. And we know about so much corruption, but then of course, as you know, Cenk, it's not just the money, it's the carrot and the stick. There's the money, and then there's the fact that if you don't take the money and you're critical, you will be beat. And there's real consequences for that. There'll be money put in against you now, and you'll be smeared and you'll be tarnished among certain groups. And then I think there's also really is just an ideology that develops, and people within the realm of I think there are a lot of people who work within the corporate media who actually somehow create a worldview where being on the side of Lockheed Martin and big pharma companies and JP Morgan Chase and all of this somehow is actually the right thing to do. But the bottom line is kind of this, and I thought, as disappointed as I was, of course, because this was my guy, but when Thomas Massie got defeated down in his primary, I know you guys did a lot of great coverage of that campaign, including interviewing Congressman Massie about it. But look, I mean, okay, they had to pour $32 million in, and still, because I know you guys were covering this, and still the only way they could do it was just by getting the boomers out. All the young people were with Thomas Massie. And then when you look at those numbers, you go, there's no way they can possibly do this. They couldn't spend the equivalent of that on a presidential race. They couldn't put $32 million into every little Kentucky local size district across the country. And anyway, so I guess just my point is that even though they're all locked in this in the mainstream media, like you said, there's just super majorities of the American people waiting here. And I gotta say, it seems to me like the political dynamic right now is almost like 2014, 2015, where it's just begging for who wants to be the Donald Trump. Like there's this, who wants to come in and just run on these ideas that are really popular that no one else wants to say? Like, hey, build a wall and stop fighting stupid wars. However you feel about those were very popular and no other politician wanted to say that. And right now, it's so obvious, Cenk, what anyone could just stand up and say. Be against the special relationship, be against the wars, be for transparency, Epstein files, JFK files, all of that, against anti-corruption. I mean, you don't even have to get into left-right issues before there's a candidate that could win on this stuff, on just being against the corruption.
And so, last thing I'll say on this is that, look, you see Massey, Khanna, MTG, they vote to release the Epstein files, defund Israel. And so if you're wondering why others don't do it when those positions are so popular, look at what happened to those three. They were targeted and annihilated. Trump took out Marjorie Taylor Greene, AIPAC and Trump tag team to take out Tom Massey, and now the entire media and the entire uniparty is against Ro Khanna. So this is how Israel destroys their opponents inside this country so that we serve them and not our own people. So I agree with Dave 100%. The first American leader brave enough to withstand all that, fight all the way back, wins the presidency, and actually does it easily. If the establishment media is against you, whether you're on the right or the left, that is a great thing. The establishment media is despised by the American people. The only people who still listen to them are the morons in Washington who live in that toxic bubble where they're like, oh, I want a good quote from the New York Times. You could shove that quote right up your ass, man.
Well,
no one cares.
I mean, look. And I meant to say this too, Cenk, because as you said it before, and I think this is part of what happened. This is part of that's at least 50% of why Trump won, is because the media hated him so much. That was a big plus for a lot of his supporters. And then of course, a lot of things have happened in those years.
The other night I was scrolling through Shop TYT, as I'm sure you were, when I saw our awesome Banned in the UK shirt, and I thought, I need that. I definitely need it. I clicked add to cart. I'm ready to dig out my wallet, but it's on the other side of the room. But right there in the checkout, glowing like a beacon, is that glorious purple Shop Pay button. One tap, boom, order placed. That's the magic of Shopify, the platform behind millions of businesses and 10% of US e-commerce, including our own Shop TYT. That purple Shop Pay button is the best converting checkout on the planet. It means fewer abandoned carts and more actual sales. If you run a business, Shopify makes it super simple to build a beautiful site with hundreds of templates and a blast email and social campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling. It's like having a full marketing team behind you. So do what we did, use Shopify. See fewer carts go abandoned and more sales go with Shopify and their Shop Pay button. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
Back then, in 2016, 10 years ago, when Donald Trump pissed off the media, maybe that wasn't something that say more left-leaning young people would have been like interested in or be like, oh, I like that. But then they stole the election from Bernie Sanders, and then they did it again in 2020. And by the way, Cenk, as you know better than anybody, that whole that phrase, vote blue no matter who, that was just the slogan they trotted out as they were stealing it from Bernie Sanders. Yeah, vote blue no matter who meant shut up and take it as we steal it from your guy. And essentially, how you got really excited about this anti-Wall Street message? Well, we're gonna need you to take that excitement and vote for the most beloved candidate by Wall Street. You know what I mean? And so it's like that whole vote blue no matter who, what you're finding out now, it's like, oh yeah, that never actually meant vote for somebody who wasn't in the guy we wanted. That just meant shut up and take it as we steal it from all of your guys. And now you're seeing, as the Democratic Socialist wing, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure that's the best name for it, to be honest, but is ascendant. Now that vote blue no matter who thing is not something that you hear too much from the establishment. How many of them never even endorsed Mom Donnie, right? I mean, and those who did had to have their arms twisted to do it.
Even AOC didn't endorse any of those DSA candidates because they never meant it. They're totally full of crap. So of course that's true, but this system's about to break. The walls are breached, so 2028 is going to be super interesting.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.